The edge of the galaxy was cold and quiet. Nothing had happened there for many years. Most ships didn't even travel that far. The stars were old. The planets were dead. The Galactic Empire believed there was nothing left to discover in that dark corner of space. But they were wrong. A small science station named Argon 7 floated near the Orion sector. It was just a listening post, run by a few alien scientists. Their job was simple: watch the scanners and report anything strange. One day, they saw something they couldn't explain. A young alien technician named Kevax noticed a signal. It came from deep space, far beyond the normal lanes. It wasn't a message. It wasn't noise. It was something new. A sharp, strong energy spike, like a ship jumping out of hyperspace, but more powerful. Kevax stared at the screen. "This doesn't look normal," he said. The commander of the station, a tall insectoid named Prevails, walked over. He looked at the data. His eyes narrowed. "This energy level, it's not possible," Prevails said. "No known ship uses this kind of power." They tried to scan it again, but the source vanished, like it was never there. Hours later, the signal came again. This time, it was closer, stronger. The Galactic Empire quickly sent a patrol. 3 light cruisers, fast and armed with scanners. Their mission was simple: find the source and report back. The ships entered the region. Then, silence. 1 hour passed. Then 2. Then 5. No messages. No signals. The cruisers were gone. The last thing the Empire received was a short distress signal. Static filled the message. Then, a single word. Weak, shaking, almost like a whisper. Human. The Council of Elders met immediately. 20 alien species gathered in a high chamber, floating above a golden city on the planet Xanthor. These were the rulers of the galaxy, old, wise, and proud. They ruled over hundreds of worlds. They had crushed many enemies. But now, they looked worried. Humans, one council member said, a tall blue alien with 6 eyes. They disappeared centuries ago. They were weak, primitive. Not anymore, said another, his voice shaking. If that signal is real, we're in danger. The Empire had banned humans from joining the Galactic Council 300 years ago. Earth was called a developing world. Their technology was too simple. Their ways were too chaotic. So the Council shut the humans out, left them behind. Now it seemed the humans had returned, and they brought something new with them. The Council sent more ships, bigger ones. This time, they added warships. The fleet entered the same region where the signal came from. They found nothing. Just empty space, cold stars, dead planets. But then, a recording was found. One of the patrol drones had survived for a few seconds longer than the others. It recorded a strange image before being destroyed. The footage played in the council hall. Everyone leaned forward. There, in the black screen, appeared a massive shadow. It wasn't shaped like a normal ship. It had no wings, no engines, no lights. It looked like a floating mountain of metal, silent, black, smooth like glass. The ship didn't fire. It didn't move. But the drone exploded a second later. No known race builds ships like this, Prevails said. Panic began to spread across the Empire. Civilian channels started asking questions. Who are they? Are the humans back? Why are their ships so advanced? The military tried to calm the people. It could be a trick, they said. Pirates. An illusion. But more signals came, all from the edge of the galaxy, all stronger than before. Some planets began to evacuate. Others prepared for war. Whispers spread like wildfire. The humans had returned, and they had changed. Scene ends with a slow zoom on a giant human warship, hidden in shadow, drifting silently through space. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy grew quiet, but not with peace. It was the silence of fear, the kind that hangs in the air before a storm. Across hundreds of planets, news channels replayed the same scene. The image of a massive black warship, its shape like a knife cutting through space. People argued if it was real. Some said it was a fake, a weapon from an unknown empire. Others whispered one word again and again: humans. But most people didn't know who the humans were. That was because humans had been gone for a long time. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council removed Earth from the list of recognized worlds. Back then, Earth had no warships, no hyperspace drives, no colonies. Their people were divided, fighting among themselves. To the Council, humans were loud, emotional, unpredictable, not worthy of joining the advanced races of the galaxy. So they locked Earth out. No trade, no contact, no help. The Council expected humans to stay small forever, but they didn't. Some thought the humans would die off. Others believed Earth had destroyed itself in war. No one bothered to check. Now they were back, and no one could explain how. Behind closed doors, the Council studied the recordings again. Every time they enhanced the image, they found more questions. The ship was built with materials unknown to the Empire. It had no visible engines, no radio signals, no heat. It floated in complete silence, yet moved faster than light. Worse, it wasn't alone. Scans showed more blips, hidden, scattered across the edge of the galaxy. One ship, then two, then 10, then 100. A fleet was forming. No one had seen the ships move. They just appeared, and every time they did, communication in the area would fail. Probes went dark. Satellites stopped working. Even gravity seemed strange near them. The scientists were terrified. One of them said, "These ships are not flying. They're bending space." Meanwhile, something else was happening. A small research vessel, belonging to a minor alien race called the Solari, drifted too close to the Orion sector. It was an old, slow ship with 10 crew members. They had no weapons, just scanners and hopes of making a discovery. Their ship was pulled into a black gravity wave. Power went out. Lights died. The crew thought they were going to die. Then a voice spoke on their radio. Clear, calm, in basic galactic speech. "This is the vessel Arclight of the Terran Defense Fleet. Do not be afraid. We are here." A moment later, power came back. The Solari crew looked out the window and saw it. A human ship. Smooth, dark, glowing faintly with white lines. It was beautiful and terrifying. The human ship didn't stay long. It helped repair the Solari ship, then vanished without a trace. The Solari captain tried to send a message to the Council, but it never arrived. The communication was blocked. But the crew remembered. "They helped us," the captain said later. "They didn't speak much, but their eyes, they looked at us like they knew everything, like they'd been watching." The Council grew more afraid. If the humans had warships that advanced, what else did they have? And more importantly, how did they build all of this in secret? No one had seen them trade for parts. No known species reported any human activity in centuries. And Earth had been completely silent in galactic records. The only clue came from a forbidden zone, the galactic dark rim, a part of space filled with black holes and dead stars. No empire explored it. Nothing came out of it. But now, probes showed strange shapes moving inside it. Ships, stations, possibly entire cities. The humans hadn't been hiding. They had been building. In isolation. In darkness. Far from the eyes of the Empire. They had turned exile into power. The Empire's greatest fear was becoming clear. The humans didn't just return with ships. They came back with purpose. They hadn't said why. They hadn't attacked. But they were watching. Waiting. And they hadn't forgotten the past. Across the galaxy, people were beginning to feel it. Not just fear. Doubt. For centuries, the Galactic Empire believed it was the strongest power in known space. It had the largest fleets, the biggest armies, and the most advanced technology. The Council ruled thousands of worlds. Every empire bowed to them. Every rebellion was crushed. But now, something was different. People whispered in dark rooms and quiet streets. They spoke of ships that made no sound, that moved like shadows and vanished without trace. They spoke of humans, the forgotten race, the ones exiled long ago, now returning from the void. At first, the Council tried to control the story. They called it a hoax, a misunderstanding, a trick of the scanners. But then more ships disappeared. Scouts, traders, even a few warships. Each time, there were no distress calls, no explosions, just silence. And every time, one thing was the same: strange energy readings and black shapes floating in the dark. Something was out there, watching, waiting, and not alone. In Sector K-17, a small fleet of 4 alien cruisers moved quietly through space. They were ordered to investigate another signal, the same type that had led to the first disappearance. Their commander, Admiral Trava, was cautious. She had heard the stories. Her crew was nervous. "Don't worry," she told them. "If these are humans, we can handle them." But she wasn't sure anymore. For 2 hours, they scanned the sector. Nothing. Then, without warning, their ship lights flickered. Gravity shifted. The stars outside twisted like reflections on water. One of the crew shouted, "Something's coming through." The sensors screamed. The noise was deafening, not in sound, but in data. Numbers moved too fast to read. Energy levels jumped off the charts. Outside the window, the stars vanished, replaced by darkness. No, not darkness. A ship. A shape so massive it blocked everything behind it. Long and flat, like a blade. Its surface was not metal. It was smooth like stone, glowing faintly with blue lines that pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Trava had never seen anything like it. No weapons were visible. No engines. It just existed. Her ships raised shields. They prepared weapons. But the human ship did nothing. It simply sat there. Then it sent a signal, not through radio, but directly into their systems. A single sentence appeared on every screen: "You do not belong here." And just like that, it vanished. No light, no sound. It was gone. The fleet returned, shaken. The recordings were sent to the Council. This time, the Council could not lie. Something powerful had returned, and it was watching their every move. What scared them most wasn't the technology. It was the silence. Humans weren't boasting. They weren't making threats. They weren't showing power. They were waiting, like predators in the dark. One council member said, "This is a psychological attack. They're playing with us." Another whispered, "No, this is not a game. This is something else." Meanwhile, a strange pattern started to appear. In the sectors where the human ships were seen, alien colonies stopped reporting pirate attacks. Slave ships vanished. Illegal mining operations were found destroyed, with no survivors. It was like the humans were cleaning the galaxy, one piece at a time. But why? And how did they know where to look? The Empire sent cloaked drones to follow the signals. They used stealth drives and signal jamming equipment. It didn't help. One by one, the drones vanished too. But one drone lasted longer than the others. It sent back one image. A massive structure, floating in deep space, bigger than any station, shaped like a circle, with beams of white light spinning slowly around a black core. The drone was destroyed seconds later, but the image reached the Empire. It wasn't just a fleet. It was an entire network. Bases, refueling points, possibly even cities. The humans had built a hidden empire, all in the shadows. And now, the Galactic Empire had a decision to make. Should they make contact? Should they prepare for war? Or should they surrender before it's too late? But the humans still said nothing. They sent no messages, no ambassadors, no demands. They simply watched. And their silence was louder than any weapon. Far beyond the outer sectors, past the last known trade routes, there was a dead zone of space. It was cold, lifeless, and quiet for thousands of years. No ships went there. No life existed. Not even pirates hid there. That place had a name in the old records. The Grave Belt. It was called that because long ago, during the First Empire, a war had happened there. A huge one. Billions had died. Ancient weapons had torn space itself. Black holes formed and devoured everything. Since then, no empire dared go near it. Every probe sent there was lost. Every explorer disappeared. Until now. A small mining ship from the Jorith Union drifted near the edge of the Grave Belt. It wasn't supposed to be there. The crew had taken a secret job to find rare minerals in the area. They thought the Empire wouldn't notice. They were wrong. The ship's scanners picked up strange shapes deep inside the belt. The captain, a greedy Jorithi named Lenku, ordered a closer look. That's when the lights flickered. The crew heard something strange. A low hum, not through the speakers, but inside their heads. Then, a signal came through. Not a voice. Not words. A feeling. Fear. Pure, sharp, and cold. The crew froze. Some cried. One even screamed. Then they saw it, outside the window. Not a ship. Not a station. A ring. A giant mechanical ring, floating slowly in space. It looked ancient, yet perfect. Energy crackled across it. Lightning danced in the vacuum. Something moved inside the ring. Something enormous. The ship tried to leave, but its engines died. No explosions, no weapons, just silence. Then they were gone. The Empire picked up a burst of static, followed by a strange signal. When decoded, it showed the image of the ring, and a single sentence written in Galactic Common. We remember everything. Panic broke across the core worlds. The humans weren't just back. They had technology beyond imagination. Structures that bent space, ships that could erase fleets. And now, ancient places that had been forgotten by history were coming alive. The council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from every major species attended. Even the most secretive empires joined, breaking years of silence. They all had one question. What do the humans want? No one knew. No demands were made. No attacks on civilians. No territory claimed. And yet, power was shifting. Fast. Pirate fleets had vanished. Black markets were shut down. Even major criminal groups had gone dark. Someone was cleaning the galaxy, and everyone suspected the same answer. The Terran Defense Fleet. But who led them? Where was Earth? The Council sent spy drones to the Sol system. Most were destroyed before arrival. One got close, and what it saw shook the Council. Earth was not the same. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, but around it floated rings of satellites, defense grids, and massive shipyards. Hundreds of ships moved in formation. Some were as big as cities. Others were sleek and fast. All were black, with glowing white or blue cores. The drone tried to scan their weapons. It failed. Every system on the drone melted at once. The last thing it recorded was a human message, sent in old-style code. We remember the exile. The Council now feared the worst. The humans hadn't just advanced. They had surpassed everyone. They had not returned to ask for a seat at the table. They had returned to remind the galaxy what had been done to them. One of the oldest members of the Council, a creature who had lived for 900 years, whispered to his aide, "This is not a return. This is a reckoning." The fear was not just of war. It was fear of justice, the kind that doesn't forget, and the kind that doesn't forgive. Silence had ruled for too long. Every empire, every council, every leader was waiting, wondering. And then it happened. Without warning, every comm station across the galaxy lit up at once. Civilian screens, military channels, even ancient, unused satellite networks, all began to show the same thing. A symbol, two white lines crossing over a black star. Beneath it, one word appeared in glowing letters: Terran. Then a face appeared. Human. Male. Sharp eyes, silver hair, skin weathered by time. He wore no armor, no medals, just a dark uniform with the Terran symbol on the chest. His voice was calm, deep, measured, but it carried weight. "This message is for the Galactic Council and all member empires," he said. "We are the descendants of Earth, the ones you exiled, the ones you called unworthy, the ones you forgot." A pause. He looked directly into the camera, as if staring into the soul of every watcher. "We did not forget." The transmission didn't end. It expanded, now showing images behind him. The ruins of old Earth cities, destroyed by war, then rebuilt with towering spires, glowing with light. Factories building ships, children learning in zero-gravity classrooms, massive machines tearing asteroids apart like paper. The voice continued. "You left us to die in chaos. You thought we would destroy ourselves, but exile forced us to unite. Pain forced us to grow. Alone, we found strength." The screen flashed again, this time showing the ring from the grave belt, glowing with energy. Then more, hidden space stations, black fleets, portals bending time. "You built an empire through control and fear. We built ours through fire and silence." Now, every empire was watching, some in awe, others in panic. The human continued. "We are not here to conquer. We are not here to beg. We do not want your seats at your table." His eyes narrowed slightly. "But we are watching." He stepped aside. Behind him, a vast window revealed what lay beyond. A planet-sized ship, slowly rotating above a blue star. Lights danced across its surface. It was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. And it was only one of many. "We will not forget the colonies you crushed, the children you left behind, the treaties you broke, the species you silenced." Now the message wasn't just for the Council. It was for everyone. To the oppressed, know that you are no longer alone. To the slavers, pirates, and tyrants, your time has ended. And finally, he gave a name. "I am Commander Wark of the Terran High Command. This is not a threat. This is balance." The screen faded to black. But before it did, one last message appeared. "Judgment has arrived." Panic spread like wildfire. Some colonies cheered. Others trembled. In the outer worlds, rebel groups raised the Terran symbol as their flag. In the core, Empire officials scrambled to hide their past crimes. And in secret council rooms, leaders whispered the truth they had feared from the beginning. The humans didn't want peace. They wanted justice. And justice was coming with fire. The Terran fleet didn't move immediately. They didn't invade. They didn't issue orders. They simply waited, letting the galaxy look into its own reflection. Because deep down, every empire knew what it had done when it turned its back on Earth. They had created their own reckoning. Now it was here, and it was just getting started. The galaxy had never felt so alive. Every sensor, every communications channel, every ship felt the presence of something unseen, yet undeniable. For weeks, the Terran fleet did nothing. They didn't attack. They didn't engage. They simply waited. But it wasn't silence. No, it was a silence that suffocated the air. The Empire could feel it in their bones. They had taken everything for granted for centuries. They were the rulers. They were the supreme power. And now, they were no longer sure. At the edges of the galaxy, where most of the galaxy's outlaws and pirates lived, a strange thing began happening. Pirate ships, which once operated with impunity, started to disappear. One by one, they went silent. No explosions, no distress signals, just empty sectors. No one knew what happened to them. The pirates hadn't given up their life of crime. They were wiped out. The Raytheon Syndicate, one of the most feared pirate organizations in the galaxy, had a meeting scheduled in a remote sector. It was meant to be a new alliance, a merger of arms, drugs, and illegal tech. They thought they were untouchable. But they weren't. The entire fleet vanished. No one saw the attack happen. It was as though the ships had melted into the darkness of space. Then came the message. A simple, chilling message. This is your last warning. The Council tried to act. They sent a fleet to the Raytheon system. Destroyed ships were found. Wreckage, but no trace of the enemy. Nothing. The only thing left were more transmissions, sent from the heart of the Grave Belt. This is your second warning. By then, the Empire was terrified. They could no longer hide their panic. Their fleets gathered, not to attack, but to defend. They believed the humans had superior technology, too superior. They had to strike first. The Council ordered a massive operation, the first preemptive strike on the humans' territory. A fleet of over 200 warships, the largest ever assembled, moved toward the coordinates of the Terran fleet. They knew they were being watched. They didn't care anymore. But as they entered the outer sectors near the Grave Belt, something strange happened. The fleet began to lose contact. First, one ship, then 2, then 20. All vanished without a trace. Nothing on the scanners. No debris. No explosions. Not even wreckage. The remaining fleet had only one option left: retreat. As they tried to turn back, a voice came through their comms. Calm, unhurried. It was Commander Work again. You cannot escape. The transmission came from the center of the fleet, though no ship was visible. You will understand soon enough why you were forgotten. Then, an image appeared. It wasn't a ship, not a station, but a massive structure floating in space, a city-sized structure built with ancient technology. It had been hidden, but now it revealed itself to the galaxy. The structure was a network of massive, interconnected spheres and tunnels, swirling with strange energy. A voice echoed in the minds of the fleet's commanders. It wasn't from any physical device. It came from everywhere. This is the nexus of unity, the heart of our strength. Here, all of humanity's secrets, knowledge, and power have been brought together. The fleet's remaining ships tried to fire, cannons blasting into the void, missiles flying with intense velocity. But the beams of energy from the nexus swatted them aside with ease, like a child brushing away ants. Nothing could stop it. And then, as the remaining ships tried to flee, something unexpected happened. The nexus wasn't just defensive. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a signal. A signal that connected directly with every ship, every station, and every system the humans had ever touched. A signal that linked the ancient Earth databases, the knowledge of every war ever fought, every ship ever built, every mistake ever made. And that's when the humans spoke again. We know you. We know everything. The fleet commanders felt it, something inside them. A deep, suffocating knowledge, memories they hadn't remembered. The truth behind their own empires, their own history, their darkest secrets. The Nexus had connected them. The humans were no longer just a race with advanced technology. They were the keepers of the galaxy's forgotten past, the silent witnesses to every cruelty, every betrayal. And they were done watching. At the very center of the Nexus, Commander Work's image appeared once more. We are not your enemies. We are the future. We will not be erased again. You will remember us, and you will not like what you remember. The voice was cold, and it was final. Then, with a sudden, terrifying surge of energy, the entire fleet vanished, leaving nothing but a blackened space, scorched from the power of the Nexus. The Empire scrambled to recover. They could no longer ignore the humans. They could no longer pretend they were just a fleeting shadow in the galaxy. The humans had made their move, and they had shown the galaxy their greatest weapon, not their ships, not their technology, their knowledge. And that knowledge was far more dangerous than any warship. The galaxy was on the edge. The Terran fleet had vanished, leaving behind only the silence of space and the echo of their chilling message. But the damage had already been done. Every system in the galaxy, from the core worlds to the outer fringes, could feel the weight of what had just happened. The Empire scrambled, but this time, it wasn't just about military power. The Terrans had made it clear, this wasn't a war for control. It wasn't about resources or territory. It was something much more ancient and much more dangerous. A council meeting was called. This time, every race sent their representatives. The stakes had never been higher. The humans had shown their hand, and no one could ignore it anymore. The Terran fleet was no longer an unknown force. They were a presence, and with that presence came a terrifying realization. They weren't just fighting for dominance. They were fighting for memory, for justice, for the forgotten history of an entire species. The leaders of the council, a mixture of old and new empires, sat in silence as the galactic monitors showed the latest transmission from the Terran fleet. No one could speak, not after everything that had been revealed. Finally, one of the older leaders, a being who had witnessed hundreds of galactic conflicts, stood up. "They are more than we imagined," he said, his voice shaky. "They have been watching us for eons. They know our secrets. They know our lies." Another leader, a member of the Dominion, one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, spoke coldly. "We can't allow this to continue. We've built this galaxy. We have the strength." "No," the older leader cut him off. "You've built your empire on blood, deceit, and forgotten promises. That's why the Terrans are here. Not to conquer, but to make us remember." It was true. The Terrans had always been the forgotten ones, exiled to the farthest corners of space, but they had endured. And they had rebuilt not just their fleet, but their history, their stories, and their purpose. The transmission continued. Commander Rourke appeared again. This time, his face was not alone. Behind him, a shadowy figure stood, towering over him. The figure was humanoid, but its features were indistinct, as though it was a being from another age, a forgotten race that had long since faded into history. "The time for waiting is over," Rourke's voice echoed. "We were cast out. We were erased, but we remember everything. Every battle, every war, every treaty broken. And now it is time for the galaxy to remember." The shadowy figure stepped forward, revealing a set of glowing ancient symbols across its body. It was speaking, but in a language no one had ever heard before. The symbols on the figure's body pulsed in time with its voice, each word sending ripples across the galaxy, as if the very fabric of space was responding. Then, with terrifying clarity, the symbols translated into the galactic common language. "You are all complicit. You have forgotten what you did. You erased us, but we never forgot. We built an empire, not of conquest, but of survival. And now you will see the price for that survival." A dark silence fell over the room. It was as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. The Dominion leader stood up, anger flaring in his eyes. "This is not acceptable. We cannot let this ancient race think they can. They already know." The voice was soft, yet filled with such undeniable authority that the room fell silent once more. The shadowy figure continued, its voice rising, resonating through every mind across the galaxy. "We will not stop until every lie you have told is unraveled. We will show the galaxy the truth, and you will answer for the countless betrayals. You will remember the wars you started, the lives you destroyed, and the species you silenced." The figure stepped back, allowing Rourke to take center stage again. His eyes were not filled with anger, but with clarity. There was a resolve that could not be shaken. "We didn't ask for this war. We didn't ask for this galaxy to be built on our bones. But now that we are here, we are not leaving." He paused. "The Terran fleet will not be defeated. Not because of our ships, not because of our technology, but because of something far stronger. We fight for truth. We fight for the past that was erased. And we fight for the future that has yet to be written. And then the transmission cut. The galaxy was left in stunned silence. For a moment, nothing happened. But then the Terran fleet reappeared. They had been watching. They had been waiting. Now, they were finally revealing their full force. Hundreds of ships, all sleek and dark, powered up and aligned in a perfect formation. They didn't fire a single shot. They didn't need to. Their presence alone was enough to shift the balance of power. The galactic fleets that had once believed themselves invincible were now faced with an undeniable truth. They were outmatched. But more than that, they were outclassed. The final confrontation was inevitable. It wasn't just about power, or ships, or weapons. It was about the truth. The Terrans weren't fighting for domination. They were fighting for justice, for the forgotten species, for the unspoken histories. And as the fleets prepared for battle, one final message came through. This is not a war for victory. This is a war for remembrance. The galaxy had no choice but to face its reckoning. The Terrans had finally come to reclaim their place, not just among the stars, but as the keepers of history. And no empire, no matter how powerful, could stop them.